Good afternoon, listeners. Welcome back to the OmCast, the show where we get real, authentic, and weird. Today's special guest is the one and only Ejay O'Donnell. Thank you for,
Stoked to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on the
here.
show today.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to have him on the podcast because, for many reasons. One, because he's just a really inspiring dude. Number two, last year he was nominated to be in the Meet the Neighbors project that we did for Windermere Professional Partners, and he was nominated because of his involvement in community. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, stoked to be here.
Yeah, Ejay's like, it's not like the get involved in the community cheesy kind of thing. It's like actually doing cool shit that is impacting people's lives and changing the way people do things. So here's a couple of things that he does. He does Skate for Change,
Yep.
which is a fundraiser that gathers materials and
It's just gather, give, and skate.
Yeah.
Gather supplies, give it out to people while you skateboard.
Yep.
Very simple.
so cool. And then he does this thing called Opportunity Has No Off Season, which is a mentorship program, right?
Peer-to-peer mentorship on young professionals, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives, artists, photographers, whatever. It's
So
just
dope.
A new way of getting knowledge to people.
So dope. And then recently he started Tacoma Run Club, which is like it's like all ages, all types, and every Sunday they get together and they run different. It's for all levels, and it's just bringing people together to run, right?
Yep. It's all that started out as like a personal thing for me to be able to, because I guess like 16, 18 months ago I was like I wasn't overweight, but I was not comfortable in my own skin, and so my brother-in-law was like, hey, let's go running, and then we went running, felt great. My designer brain and community brain was like, let's design a logo, let's turn it into a thing, create some accountability, invite others to do it. And it literally is just a simple run on Ruston Way. And what I realized when people started showing up, it wasn't about the running, it was about connecting afterwards for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah,
so good, man.
It's been good.
So good. And then he's also been working at Die Cut Stickers for the past decade and a half. He actually made the stickers for Just You Guys Creative.
Yeah.
That's how we initially met, is that you and Will were talking
Yep.
through Instagram, and he was promoting our photos on the Tacoma Instagram, which you've grown to, what,
It's
like 20?
23.2 thousand followers now.
Yeah. So
Centralized right here in Tacoma.
So he's all about just like helping everybody rise, and I'm just so honored to have you here and share your story. I remember when we filmed the Meet the Neighbors project, I had like literally an hour of content to work with because you shared so much of your story, but we only got to use like a tiny little fraction.
That was such a fun day too, because it really was good for me because I got to talk about so many other things in my past that I wouldn't like forget about, but it's like those are really monumental, and I got to put timelines together of like what really shaped me, from the graffiti to teaching graffiti to opportunities, and it was cool for me to reflect and go back. So it was a real honor to do that, and just
I was so inspired by it. So I was like, I really wanted to have you here to maybe share that again.
Yeah,
because like so many little bits of of those stories didn't get to make it to the final episode, and like he comes from an art graffiti background, and it somehow turned into his career, which is like with the help of people and just getting involved with the people around you. And I'd love for you to like talk about how you were kind of a troublemaker back in the day.
Yeah.
On top of all of this, he's a father of two and a husband. So I don't know how you do it, Ejay.
I don't know. I've gotten really good at time management, I guess, but even with becoming a good time manager, which we'll get into later, it's like you still need more time in the right places, and so that's another life-changing decision I just made a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I want to talk about. I don't even know about that because he posted on social media that he's resigning from his job that he's been at for so long. So
yeah, we'll talk about that for sure, because that was
what's important in life.
It's the biggest moment of my life besides getting married and having children.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's epic.
But yeah, for me,
so where did it all start?
Well,
in the streets.
In the streets. So I was introduced to graffiti in 1996 from my buddy Travis. His uncle was Cheese, which was like a known graffiti artist. He painted the first piece in the underworld. So right under 34th Street.
Here in Tacoma.
In Tacoma. Right along train tracks by the Tacoma Dome. It's called the Underworld. People still paint there. It's definitely monitored a lot more now, but he used to be able to go down there and paint all the time. So his uncle introduced him to graffiti, and then Travis and I have known each other since kindergarten. And then he brought a sketchbook to, I think it was 6th grade at the time, was 96. And he's like, check this out. And I was like, I want to do that.
You saw some typeface, right? Or what was it?
It was just some bubble letters that he drew. But what's funny when I think about that moment is I remember all through elementary school of how much I loved to color in, like near the 8x11 pages. And it's like you get one, you color it in. I remember that from kindergarten, like enjoying to paint or to color
the letters.
every single letter. And so it's funny, like when it got to that point where I got introduced to what graffiti is, I'm like, this is amazing. And then my parents gave us a lot of freedom. So, riding my BMX bike, rollerblading, skateboarding, however I was getting around, we lived 2 or 3 blocks away from each other. And so I'd ride my bike up and, we would get some markers and we'd go.
In 6th grade.
Yeah, start tagging some stuff. And we're like,
Best.
there was like this weird rush that came along with it. And this is like pre-internet too. So we kind of figured it all out. Like you didn't meet other graffiti artists unless you ended up under the same bridge as them, essentially. And then
there's no like Facebook group or something.
no, there was
like
not, what was going on? There was like forum sites that were just popping off, but no one knew. Like we all had dial-up, so we were like AIM instant messenger. It's like finding the graffiti rooms, and we actually connected with some people like through AOL chat rooms, which is super funny. But from 1996 all the way to 2000, pretty much 4. That was my life. I worked so I could buy spray paint, buy a car so I can go
tag stuff
and paint across the city.
Yes.
And so that's all we love. And it's an element of hip hop too. So it's DJing, breakdancing, MCing, and graffiti. And so
that would all happen in one place?
Those are the 4 elements of hip hop.
Okay.
And so a lot of times you would throw breakdance jams, but graffiti artists would be doing black book sessions, DJs would be spinning, and then people would be MCing or like freestyle battling outside. And so we just painted the city. We crushed the city pretty hard.
And never got caught.
There's been some really sketchy moments. I didn't, but a couple of the crew members like got, because there's task force that caught them and kind of roughed them up and it's like, come back again. It's like, it's going to be bad. And so there was moments in time that really resonated with me. It's like, I can get in some serious trouble for this.
But that's part of the rush, right?
It's super part of the rush. Because you wanted to go hit the highest billboard or you want
make it
on
as big
top
as
of
possible.
a rooftop, like the roller pieces that we did.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still some rollers up and pieces up around town that are legally done that are still burning, and it's funny to go see them. It's like, man, I did that 20 years ago.
That's so cool.
But it really shaped me because of creativity. Like I love that creative outlet where you can take from your brain, put it on paper, and then a letter structure it's a structure, but then you can morph it into whatever you want.
Design is you can go so
so
deep down the
fun.
rabbit hole.
And back in the day, it wasn't commercialized. Graffiti was not something that people wanted on their businesses or wanted part of their branding. Now people are world famous for graffiti. You could be a full-time graffiti artist. Well, at the time, for me, the risk wasn't enough for the reward, and so it's like I started tapering back a little bit. I was like, okay, I can't get in trouble. Like my parents raised me well enough to like.
Not do this.
Yeah, not do it, but it's fun, but just make sure to stay out of trouble the best you can. And so in 10th grade, I ended up meeting a good friend to this day. His name is Jerome. He goes by Janique. He's part of the Dance Brooms. This is crazy. It was a pep assembly. And this is where the 4 elements of hip hop, like we all really resonate with the music and the vibes and like just the culture. But we were just a small fraction of it. But in Travis's basement, we were trying to break dance. We were MCing. We would buy turntables and scratch, like
doing graffiti.
And we would go to Mr. Rags to buy DVDs.
I remember Mr. Rags.
VHS tapes.
Yes.
So we'd go buy tribal stuff. We got our name. We got our belt buckles that said like Ejay Rock. Like, I mean, we were living hip hop. We felt like we should have been in the Bronx, but we're here in Tacoma, Washington. I mean, that was our life. We wanted hip hop, and so
I can imagine that old EJ.
Man, I gotta show you some
thug.
photos, dude. It's so funny. Like actually going back, like I thought it was pretty cool. But it was in 10th grade where it really changed. Like, so we did graffiti all of middle school, all into high school. We were breakdancing at dances. We were MCing out in the courtyards. I was never good at either one of those. Like graffiti was my thing, but I would participate or like support my friends that were good. But in 10th grade, it was a pep assembly. I see this dude doing a head spin in the middle of like people leaving. I'm like, I haven't seen a good breakdancer that's not on a VHS tape here in town. So I rush and find him. I'm like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Janique. Then he gives me this flyer for the PLU breakdance battle. And I'm like, these exist here? I'm like, how did these exist here and we not know this? And so
Pre-internet days.
Yep. And so that very first, I think it was in like 2 weeks, a friend of mine who actually introduced me to Daniel, who I got my career from, her and I went to this event. And so it was a breakdance battle, MC battle. I'm like, this is everything I've been watching on tapes here at PLU.
Live.
And so I ended up meeting Jason Hewlin. He was, it was Fab Five is what they called themselves. So it was Jason, DJ, Dan, Johnny Beats, and another guy that I never knew, but he wasn't part of it anymore. And I met Jason, him and I clicked. And I'm like, this is also another, a white guy like that's in hip hop that's doing these things. And it's like, I didn't think that existed either. I'm like, this is dope. Let's let's connect. And him and I connected on a really cool level because he was hosting the radio show at PLU on Friday nights. Breakdancers would show up, graffiti artists would show up to sketch. MCs would be on the mic, and there would be a DJ behind spinning.
Dude, sounds like heaven.
It was my
EJ.
heaven.
Yeah,
It was my
you can't
heaven.
have anything else.
No, and so that was what started. What was the next part of my journey was helping Fab Five throw bigger events, but also throwing art shows for our crew. And so I really got to see behind the scenes of what it was taking to actually create an event and throw a full event.
And you're like in 10th grade.
I was at that time, I was probably 16 or 17.
Cool.
So I was pretty young. And it was one of the coolest things I loved. That's where my community building came from. It's like I loved seeing how Jason could create this event and bring all these people together for one common reason and have fun. It's like that's what it was all about.
I was gonna say that's the purpose of being a human, right?
Yeah, and that's what it was. And some of the greatest friendships and battles went down. Like you can look it up on YouTube. Like Massive Monkeys versus Dance Brooms had to have been like early 2000s. One of the greatest battles of all time. Like the hype, the energy, like the crowd was going crazy.
Oh,
it was the coolest. I get chills talking about it. Like it was one of the coolest moments that I got to help throw. And then like Feist, he's a well-known MC. He dominated the MC circuit and just destroyed people on the mic. And so it was just really cool to be part of that. But I really enjoyed the back end stuff of like organizing and branding and putting flyers together, passing them out, getting people to come and then having people actually show up and participate. It was really, really cool. And so that's what was my first entry point into community building. Yeah. And into something that I love to do, which I didn't think existed. Like how would I, as a graffiti artist, build something
and support myself?
Yeah. And so we started throwing art shows. And I really enjoyed the event throwing side of it. And that's maybe where my entrepreneurial spirit came from, is like, you had to find a location, you had to go talk to the business owner. Hey, can I throw an event here? This is what we want to do. And that's where it kind of started, the wheel started spinning. And so we ended up throwing, like 5 or 6 art shows. There was crew shows, there was individual shows for Niles and Clone. They did a show together. I mean, there was like all these shows that all came from that, which was super cool. But it was like Jason really helped shape like what it was to be like a leader and develop community. And then he took it one step further. After he was graduating college, the battles were kind of slowing down. He's like, well, I still want to do this. So he created the LIFE program, which is Living in Free Expression. And he wanted to bring graffiti, breakdancing, and DJing, but us as the artists, the Dance Brooms as the B-boys, and then DJ or Rain and Dan, and DJ, like helping teach these kids turntablism. And so he created his own school, essentially his own school about hip hop. And so the very first year, me, Travis, and Troy were all the teachers. And so a couple of the guys that were in our first class, like Kenji, he's like a insane, well-known artist here in Tacoma still. He does it. He was one of the first guys that ever did it. And
proud teacher.
Yeah, and so, but then he took over teaching after we kind of stepped away, and now he's teaching Fabitat.
Dude, that's so cool.
So it's like something was built off of something that I was able to, like it outlasted me.
Yeah, it's still getting passed on.
I was like part of that creation. It was like so cool to see them flourish and follow their path and their dreams. And so, so the graffiti really led me to the community building. But also, simultaneously, that person that I went to the very first PLU battle with introduced me to Daniel, who was looking for a graffiti artist for an event that he was throwing. It's like kind of
perfect.
It's too perfect. So I went up, and I think at the time I was 16 or 17. I'm still trying to figure out what the exact age was, but I was young. I was still in high school. So after school one day, I rolled up there, and he had this little office, and there was like, it was just really cool vibe, and it was in the design realm. He just graduated from college with a sales and marketing degree, so there was a lot of energy, and him and I clicked like long lost brother. A lot of energy, a lot of just positivity, and I was like, I really like what you're doing. This is awesome. And then I started looking at the design aspect, and this is my first intro to designing on a computer, taking letters from my own form to digital, and so that started introducing me into that. And I really, really, really enjoyed that.
It expands so much when you're on digital.
Yeah.
You have all the tools like at your fingertips.
And it also was like, this is actually a career opportunity. He had like some small businesses stuff that he was doing, and he wanted me just to help out. And I was like, yeah, this is super fun. So when I was done with school, I would drive up and hang out for a little bit, or on weekends. Like he became my best friend. Like even though we're 6-7 years apart, like literally that's who I was hanging out with. So graffiti kind of took a step back because I knew I could get in trouble. And then I was like, but I still love letters. I still love design. I still love
aligned
it.
with your passion.
Yeah,
right?
and I can still throw events for the breakdancers, for the MCs, and for the graffiti artists. And so I continued on doing that, but then I also extended into snowboard and wakeboard premieres too. Cool. So I got to, again, bring more community together, and it was so fun to do that because, I mean, that's what life is about, is experiencing those moments. And
I bet like at the event and you see everyone having a great time, you're like, this is exactly what I want.
And there's legendary moments that happen that people still talk about to this day.
Because those events happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
And there was one specific event that I didn't throw, but I went to. It's called Lords of the Floor. It's put on by Red Bull. And it was one of the biggest two-on-two b-boy events like in the Northwest. And I couldn't believe that it showed up here. But like some CBS crew guys came out who at the time we finally saw them on the internet and like these guys are like next level. And they flew out to paint the walls at the hangar in Sandpoint. And so we got to meet the guys, you know, it was like super cool. And fast forward, the guy that was behind that idea, I actually know now. His name's Jameson Keegan. And
so crazy.
And so like I found out listening to a podcast he was on that he was the Red Bull guy. Red Bull's like, what are you going to do for this area to bring Red Bull community together? He goes like, I'm gonna throw a breakdance event. And that's his idea that brought it. And so I actually know him now. You know?
What is life?
And so that moment,
universe is so weird.
That moment was so huge for us because we got to meet like Totem 2 and like watch El Nino and K-Mel. Like El Nino was like 7 when he was a b-boy and like just was dominating. The dance rooms were in it. Like it was the biggest thing for like hip hop at that time. And so seeing how it can happen on that scale just got me excited again.
Yeah, I feel like you played such an integral role in like how it grew, like how it became here.
Yeah. Totally. I was very early on in the hip hop scene here, and I still try to support it anytime I can because hip hop is all about family and just community. And even though but it is like a very intense sport, so to speak, because, you know, there's so much passion behind it.
Yeah.
So MCs are real, B-boys are real, graffiti artists are real.
Expressing themselves fully.
That's it.
Fully.
Like leaving nothing out.
Yep. No inhibition.
Just love it.
Yeah.
Living in free expression.
Yes.
And that's what it was all about. And that's why Jason called it the class's life.
Ah, that's so good.
Yeah, so that's how I got to.
That's where the seed was like planted, right? Where you're like, this is exactly what I want to be doing with my time.
And it makes a huge impact on people's lives. Like I get a chance to share what I've learned to teach to someone else, and then they get to then teach someone else, and or maybe they find their passion because they got to show, you know, be a part of it that I got to teach them, and it's like such a cool feeling to know that what I love I can pass on to someone else and it can really shape them.
And at that age, to be able to like give know that is what brings fulfillment, is helping others.
That's it.
It's
really
so
is.
cool.
And living is giving, you know. It could be money, it could be time, it could be what you know, whatever it is. It's like it's got to be, you know, just get it out. Like what's the good of holding in what you know and not sharing it with anybody?
It's like you're doing a disservice by not sharing. I always tell people that like don't get started in what they're doing. I'm like, you're doing a disservice to the world by not sharing yourself.
But that's your gift. Like like your gift may not seem significant to
you, but
to
to someone else.
Totally. And it took me a long time to realize how much I did enjoy community building until this probably last 2 years. That it's like really something I really enjoy. It's like being part of the city I live in, giving back to the city I live in, but doing the things that I love close to home. And obviously the community that matters the most is my family, you know? And so, so the graffiti taught me the community, but then led me to the career opportunity that actually turned into a 15-year career. Which is
Let's
crazy.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Die cut stickers.
Yeah, die cut stickers. I mean,
you guys like, it's cool because it's like you start with graffiti, but it's still like you're like tagging up the world.
Pretty much.
Like third party, but legally kind of, right?
So we've done stickers that have ended up in all areas of the world. I got a picture sent to me like 6 years ago in Jerusalem. They were over there. We did some stickers for a company that the stickers went on satellites. They're in space. But then also too, it's sharing the message with the world from brands. Like for like what we did with you guys, it's like people put it on their laptop. They show the pride for the things they care about from either it's a business or individual standpoint. But then again, there's artists that want to get their art into other ways. It creates businesses for them to sell their art in different media. I mean, it was an endless opportunity to make an impact on another person. And so, so for 4 years, from 2004 to middle of 2007, it was like a hobby. We were doing it. There was no money to put into the website.
Yeah, you guys were like working and then going back and working on stuff.
We were both working for his uncle's company at the time, and we What did we do? I would get up there. So this is what's crazy, is I never left Tacoma. Even though this company was in Seattle, I always stayed down here. And we'll get to full circle on how that got to me to where I'm going to be moving to a new thing. But I always loved it down here. Something about this city really I loved it.
Tacoma's really special.
My family's here, my wife's family's here, my best friends are here. I went to 3 schools here, and it has so much potential. And it's like the underdog mentality.
Yep.
It's like I love being able to work through that. Like the challenges. I'm like a builder at heart too. It's like, I guess from letter structure, you start with a structure and you build on top of it. It's evolved into like being able to build something even greater, which building community or just building a pathway or whatever it is. It's like it's really difficult to do here. And I'm like, no, it's not. We're going to figure this out. There's so many successful people, but they kind of get suppressed because of the shadow of a bigger city.
Yep, Seattle.
And
I'm trying to put Tacoma on the map all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
That's why I started the Instagram page. Like everyone loved it, but
so
no
much pride.
No one wanted to talk about it though.
Yep.
Or they did in their small circles, but anybody. So I was working in Seattle for 4 years before as full-time doing international shipping. It was just a job to get me by, but it was close to this sticker shop. Anybody that I talked to from Seattle was like, "You live in Tacoma? That place stinks, man."
The aroma of Tacoma.
I'm like, but for me, when we would leave for little vacations with my family and come back and drive on Ruston Way and I would smell it, I'm like, I'm home. And so it's so funny, like the perspective, and it's like, man, it's not bad. And
it's not that bad.
And then there's the stigma of Hilltop and all this stuff. And I'm like, if you actually come be a part of the city and get to know the people in all the neighborhoods, there is incredible people here.
Yep.
Don't judge a book by its
Yep,
cover
that was
or
the
a couple.
that was the whole purpose of the Meet the Neighbors project.
Yep, there's great people here.
Yep.
And I wanted to get to know them more, and so, and that's what I've invested into in the last couple of years is doing the mentorship program and the run clubs, is to meet people here to dive into like who's here, how can I help them, or what can we do together and make this city stronger.
Dude, that's amazing. I love that, Ejay. That's so cool.
Thank you. And it's been really fun. It's been super fun. But so for 4 years, we like had a full-time job. We would show up early in the morning, work for like an hour, like tinker with some stuff, hang out, and then go to work. And then at lunch, we would do the same thing. And then
they guys are cutting stickers.
Cutting stickers out. Like, yeah, we were doing it like he was getting jobs. Like he was hitting the pavement and like reaching out to people and getting jobs. And so I would help out just doing that essentially. But we were both full-time workers, spending our before, middle, and after work hours at the shop.
Yep.
It was super fun. It was like 15-hour days, but at the time it was rad because I had nothing to lose. I think at that point I was like early 20s, like 21, 22. So I had no reason not to. It was super fun. I was having a blast. I was making a little bit of money and I was enjoying myself. In 2007, he went to a family reunion with his family, and his grandfather, who actually started the company we were working for, the international shipping company, asked him about like, what are you doing with that thing? And he's like, oh, nothing. Like, it's like just kind of fun. Yeah. But, there was not real money being made. And so there was no money to put into it. And so he's like, well, what would it take to do that? And he was honest. He's like $3 or $4 grand. He's like, I'm going to send you a check then. I want you to pursue it. So his grandpa gave him the seed money originally to invest into the website that started this whole thing. So in 2007, we spent like 4 months kind of developing. He went super hard and just like went all in on it. And in late 2007, November, we launched the new website. And actually, what's funny how we actually got the web developer. For a very short time, I was asked. So we threw a hip hop night at a club called Siren. And so one of my buddies, so all through graffiti and hip hop, I was asked to manage the night because I kind of had this more business sense, I guess. And so one of the DJs wanted to DJ. And then our crew was like running the door, and like we put our branding and our spin on it. We ended up having a really awesome, like it only lasted about 6 weeks. But in that 6 weeks, I ended up meeting this dude named Corey because we happened to have the same exact car. It was a hilarious moment. And he was a website developer.
Of course.
And so him and I became buddies because of a community thing we were building. And I ended up meeting him, and all of a sudden it's like, we need a web developer. And I'm like, I know a guy. And so we had him come up and we sat down at FX McRory's and for like a dinner and put $3,500 and said, let's do it. He built the site in, I don't know, like 3 or 4 months, and we launched it live in November. And literally that minute, people were sending in quote requests.
The sales were just coming in, right?
They were starting to come in. And so for about 6 months, we were still doing full-time work and part-time stickers. And then we finally saved up enough money. He's like, you want to quit your job and come do it full-time? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I had nothing to lose.
Oh yeah, 22. You're
I
like,
had nothing.
hell yeah.
I had a car payment. Had no one to report to. It's like, why wouldn't I try? And so I took, my parents thought I was crazy. I mean, I just was having fun. I didn't even realize what we were really building at the time. And I don't think he did either. It was just, this thing's working. Like, let's see what happens. And so for the first 6 months, it was just crazy. It was just me doing everything from customer acquisition to customer service to quoting.
Just the two of you guys, plus the web guy.
Well, web guy was one and done. He made it live and like he was done. I was full-time. Daniel was still working full-time for his the international shipping company. And I was literally doing everything. But he was like answering emails. And we had our Hotmail accounts. And so he was totally double dipping a little bit. And so for 6 months, it was just me, literally, with the exception of morning, mid, and night. Daniel would come in. But like during the day, it was just me in there answering emails, making the stickers, making the invoices, collecting money through PayPal, like just doing it all for 6 months. And it got to the point where I'm like, you either quit your job or we get some help. And he's like, I got to quit my job. So he ended up taking that big leap of faith as well and quit his job I think it was 2008. And so once that happened and put both of us behind the wheel for the first time, it just
blew up.
It just went crazy.
That's so cool.
And it was right on the downside of the recession. So in 2008, 2009, we were a small startup with really nothing to lose, but there was so many people that were getting businesses off the ground because they already lost something and they're starting over. And so we started building this new community of clients where we're like, we want to help you grow. If you grow, then we grow. And that's where the mantra came from, like early on, is like, just if we can answer every question as quick as we can, get it to them as quick as we can, all through the internet, let's see what happens. And it just went crazy.
That's such a deep purpose. You're not just like selling them pieces of plastic with ink on them. You're actually like, you want to help grow their business.
Totally.
That's such a huge like distinction.
Yeah, and then we started reaching out to other brands that I'm like, I like your brand. Like, I think we can help you grow. And it was well received. And so now we started connecting with people across the country and across the globe that we just liked their brand and we had a product that they needed and it was reasonable and affordable and we could turn it, and we started building this community of people through stickers.
Epic. How many stickers do you think you've how many you guys have printed? How many stickers have you guys have
Hundreds
printed?
of millions. Hundreds of millions.
And it's tagged the whole planet. Everywhere I travel, I always tag. Every airport, every time I'm in Thailand, everywhere I'm always tagging.
Yeah.
So your stickers are and they're in space now.
They are literally in space. And it's been crazy because we've moved in the last, so I've been full-time for 11 years this July. But before that, it was about 3 or 4 years. So there's where the 15 years comes from. And we've moved from the original office to 2nd and Lander to 6th and Holgate to 5th and Michigan, now to Tuckwell. In 10 years, we moved 5 times because we've grown that much.
And now, fast forward, just recently, he decided to resign. So do you feel like you're kind of leaving, you built this creation, right?
Yeah, I would say I had to really, I haven't even told this story, but for the last about a year, I've had to kind of change my identity a little bit. When you help a business grow, you feel like that's who you are, not what you do. And you invest so much emotionally into it.
For sure.
That, I was losing myself in the business a little bit.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And when you do that, you pick that ahead of the things that may be the most important.
Are actually important.
Yeah. And, because you feel like that was the one thing that would give you the most happiness, and it did for so long, but then, it really was. And it's something, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, in the exact same way, because it's given me so much. Like, I've met some of my best friends. You're sitting right here because of you needed sticker, you know what I mean?
The way that it happened is it's because you followed your passion, and it's just and then someone's inspired by it, they nominate you for this video, and then I come and shoot. It's so crazy.
It's wild how it all kind of comes together.
It's so connected.
I really found myself being like, that's who I am, not like what I do. And it was hard to separate the two, because then I was making decisions that I need to pick the career first, and it's like my family's going to be
Over
okay.
your family.
Yeah, and I wasn't doing it in a malicious way, but it's like I always had to be there. I had to answer that other email. I'll be home soon. I got to get this one thing done.
That's
And
like the classic, right?
the classic hustle and grind entrepreneur. You're just like, you want to just...
You're not fulfilled because you're not making in time for what's important.
Yeah, and then you always you fear a risk of losing it all. And it's like, well, if I don't get to this person, that means someone else is going to be able to get to that person. And I really cared about the community of clients, the staff. I mean, we have 32 people on staff. Like, so for me to resign, it had to have been something very, very big, close to me and personal, which was my family. Like, I chose to stay here in Tacoma. The company has always been 30 miles away. 10 years ago, it was a 25-minute drive. Now it's a 90-minute drive.
So he was telling me before we started rolling the camera, how many hours per year do you spend in traffic?
So it's silly. It's crazy.
You should know California is even worse.
I know, and I don't understand how people do it. I always was like, I'm sacrificing it because I love what I do and I'm super invested into it. And I don't know how people in California, it's even worse in California.
I feel like they don't feel like there's any other option.
And I actually felt that for a long time. There was no option. What else would I do? This is what I've done. It's me, who I am.
Your identity.
It was my identity. And I really had to reshape that. And so it's on average 3 hours a day, which is 15 hours a week, times that by 252. If my math is right, it's like 780 hours a year.
Are there moments where you're like pulling your hair out? You're like, I cannot believe I do this with my time. I mean, little solo meltdowns.
Oh my gosh. I'll be completely honest.
Be fully vulnerable here.
Full vulnerability. Yeah. I've cried in the car on the way home because it's just like you get so fed up.
Yes.
My longest commute at one point, it took about 5 hours to get home because there was a horrific car accident. A car drove off the overpass onto the freeway, and it was probably one of the most painful. Like, I was super sad because of the incident, but I missed things because of...
You get home and everyone's asleep and tired. And
I'm not there for those moments that matter. And so that started building up. And
you're like missing your recitals for Quincy. And
just taking her to school, or if I want to do parent coffee time, it's like I couldn't, or it's like I had to show up at noon because of the distance, It's like I started weighing the options of...
I feel like that eats at you.
It does. And this isn't something I've like all of a sudden sprung on. It's like this has been a long time of me doing this. And on the flip side, I'm also appreciative of the commute because it gave me 90 minutes of podcast time, of audiobooks time. So I've soaked up the most knowledge. But the problem with it is when I'm soaking up this knowledge and it's like, how are you spending your time? It's like...
I'm still in the car.
And so it's like...
I can't implement any of this.
I'm growing as an individual, but I'm not growing in the areas that are the most important. So it's like, I appreciate that. It gave me a lot of perspective and clarity, but I wasn't acting on it, at home. And so I would leave at 6 a.m, and I'm not even working long days. Like, this is a very personal decision for me to do it because the company's in the best shape that it's been.
Yeah, you guys should see his office. There's inspiring quotes everywhere. He has a stand-up desk. Everyone's in such good... It's such an awesome space to work.
It's a beautiful place, and I'm super, super proud of what we've accomplished. And I've been able to accomplish things I never even thought I could do. Over the last 2 years, I built back-end software. I never thought I could ever do that, but I've been managing it with our developer, and we've created this proprietary, incredible back-end software that's just perfect for the company, and it's something I'm very proud of.
Everything.
It's incredible. Just to do that, there's a builder mentality of this little thing. It's I'm so proud of that stuff. So it was really hard to leave, and it was a community we built of employees and clients, and it's like, how is that going to be received? But I'm not going to be successful in my career if it's going to be a detriment to my family.
Yes.
And
good thing you caught it this early, right? Before things got even worse and you're more miserable.
You're
right. Thank God that you've found just decided quickly.
And so I've had this kind of built up for a while of what can I do? I've tried to be flexible with options, but it's it just didn't work. But there was something, and this is going to be new to you. I haven't even told you this. And in December, I've had a lump on a testicle that I had to go get an ultrasound for. Oh. Because I didn't know what it was. It was very alarming. And so I went and got it done. And I'll tell you, when you're laying on that table, getting an ultrasound, wondering if you do or don't have
cancer or not,
you wake up really quickly. And then I thought about it. It's well, what if this is, and what if I were to die from it? Am I doing all the things in the right places? And I said, no.
Yeah. It's would you be okay with dying today, right?
And I spew that all the time. It's you gotta live each day as your last, but it's but I'm not living it out for what matters the most. Yep. And every day I walk out, and literally right across the street here, this time last year, 41 years old, passed away. Unbeknownst. He ended up getting pneumonia and getting blood poisoning and passed away.
Your neighbor.
Right across the street. So every day I walk out and I see a family of 4 kids and a wife that don't have their dad. And I still remember last time seeing him on his roof, like that's, where they keep the Christmas lights up, because he put them up last, with his son.
Oh, they
it's
haven't taken him down? Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, and so I walk out of my house every day, reminded. It's like, well, what if I died on the freeway, or like, or something happened
Your kids
here,
would be left like that.
and it's like, I don't want to do that. I need to be very present.
So that was the turning point.
That was the turning point.
Whoa.
So that happened in December.
You don't have cancer, right?
I do not have cancer.
What was it?
It was just a benign cyst. Like it was just a mass. It was just nothing. But it could have been.
Yes.
And that's what scared me. But what a downside of mine is my positivity and optimism is I suppressed what it really felt like to be in that moment of like the real life. So it's like, we have a baby coming. I need to, I can't make a career change because like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make money? And I suppressed it.
When that happened.
Okay. And so I never got to deal terms with it. And then our baby Holland was born. And how hard that is. When you go from 1 to 2, it's like 1 to 10.
Yeah, just having the second child is like...
And so
I heard it's easier. A lot of parents say it's easier.
Oh,
after they get like...
Maybe. Hey, bless your hearts if you figure that out. But ours are wild childs, and they got a lot of our energies. And it's so fun to be a dad. And I was leaving at 6:30 in the morning. And I was working my, so 90 minutes to the office, get there by 8:30, working my 8-9 hours, and then getting home at 6:30. So when I'm here at 6:30, my wife's already had a long day, and she's like, well, we have about 90 minutes until the kids go down. So slam dinner, can't go do anything as a family, and that was my life.
Every day for a year.
Every day. Well, Holland's 12 weeks on Tuesday, so that was like the real kicker. But I mean,
so
prior
after the testicle thing, and then
this,
yeah,
and then there was one other profound moment that really like set it off. That I knew it was the right decision. Was the Sunday before my plan was to resign, Quincy stopped me before leaving her bedroom and was like, "Daddy, I need more time with you." She's 4.
That's serious. That gives me goosebumps, man.
Dude, I came downstairs and I told Lindsay, I sat right in that chair and I was like, I know what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it, why I'm saying it. Because it's like, nothing else matters.
God, that gives me, that's like...
And in that moment, it was really, really wild. Like, I literally felt like I saw like I felt all my fallen friends that have died over the years. I felt Chad like across the street. My grandparents like felt like they gave me this heaven hug. And it's
when
like...
Quincy told you that?
Yeah, when I came downstairs. And I was like, just...
It's like a sign from God, right?
It freed me up of all of the stresses and just gave me the utmost belief that this is the right decision for my family.
Yep.
It's not a business decision. Like my relationship at work is still incredible. I'm in a good transition. Still going to support the brand forever. It's like I'm proud that I built something that's going to outlast me.
Oh, but yeah. You have made your dent in the universe for sure.
But now it's my time to invest where it matters the most, which is be a dad and a husband. And take my wife on a real date. A real date.
Has it been so long?
Oh,
How long
man.
has it been, Lindsay? A year? Did you guys do your PL Fair picture this year yet?
We will.
Okay, good.
We will.
Do you have Holland in it yet?
Not yet. This is the first year with Holland. Last year was a baby bump, and this year is going to be Holland.
So good.
So when these things happen, you really, but what it did is it freed me of all the anxiety and the stress of like, I'm not prepared for this. What's next? I don't have a job lined up, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's just going to be okay because it's the right decision, and it feels right, and the support from everybody has been unbelievable.
Oh, that's so honorable.
Because I was so scared that
this.
What people would actually think of, like if I left, it's like I'm letting the clients down, letting Daniel down, letting
how's this ship gonna keep going without Ejay
totally.
in it? Yeah.
And it's like I had to be okay. It's like it's gonna be fine.
How long was that battle in your mind?
A long time, a really long time. And it's like, but I just know that if I didn't make that decision, it was gonna get worse.
Yep.
It's like
good for you, man.
And I know it's the right move, and it felt right, and I freed myself, and it's like probably the calmest and most clear I've been in a long time.
I bet you feel liberated. I bet so much weight is just like,
it's completely gone.
Yes.
It's like there's still a long road ahead of us.
Yeah.
But I get to do it with my family now.
I feel the relief. It's like you sharing that story.
Man.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So this has all happened in the last 18 months. It's like, and when you go through those things, it's, you got to focus on what's the most important. And it's like right here. And community building to me has always started in your household.
Yep.
And I wasn't doing enough of it. We have an amazing relationship, but it's how I think love is shown is through time. And I'm not showing as much time as I need. And so now I am. And it's been awesome.
That's so good. So what's next for you?
Well, it's still a work in progress for the most part, but the things that I really want to continue doing is doing community things here. But
Being an awesome dad.
Being an awesome dad first. And whatever I do next, it's going to include my family.
Yep.
Whether I work for somebody or if I start my own thing, it's got to be my family included, and it's going to have to give me the time, and it's going to have to be close. And so those are my kind of my check boxes. But ultimately, the things that just keep coming to mind is I want to help people and businesses move forward, whether that's coaching people one-on-one or mentoring people or coming into businesses as a consultant and helping them move their businesses forward in some form or fashion. You know, it's like I like the growth. I like being able to, I've experienced enough now that I understand what it's like to fight through battles. And it's like, I think there's a lot of people that still need that assistance to fight through some battles. And so I just want to do that. I really, really want to do that. And so going to start my own consulting and coaching business. Real estate's a good option possibly for me because again, it's helping out people, community, and it's helping.
I love that it's so important to you.
It really is. Everything has to, come on, honey. Unbelievable.
Sorry, listeners, we got a little 12-week-old here.
I love this though because these are the things.
It's raw.
I haven't been able to do this.
Yes.
Like be home for this stuff, and it makes me super happy.
I love that, man.
But real estate's a good option. Just anything that's going to be either moving people's lives or businesses forward. It has to.
And align with your integrity. Yes. I feel like that's been like the theme of all of this. It's like it's aligned with who you are.
Yeah. I really love giving to people.
Yep.
You know, it's like, but I have to make sure that all of my stuff is right before I can give. You can't give an empty cup.
Yes. Yep.
And I think, you know, when you give what you don't have, you really deplete yourself.
Yes, 100%.
And so I wasn't having chances to replenish. I wasn't having chances to fill my soul. And I've lived off of the 7 equities, which are mind, body, soul, family, friends, business, money. And that's my balance chart. And you know, it's a really easy way to calibrate where you're down. And family was always down. I was investing more into business or into myself, but I was always stealing from Peter to pay Paul. Or, you know, it's like, oh, I need to go to run club. Well, I'm taking time of that small window away from my family to do that run club. And so all these things like really played a factor into it. And so the 7 equities has been huge. That's my friend Kevin Sturdivant. He's a real estate agent down in California, but he's also a huge mentor and coach for me. And those 7 equities have really helped shaped my balance.
That's cool. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So it kind of just assesses like all the areas of your life and see where you're like out of balance.
Pretty much. And the top 3, mind, body, soul, is you. Like if I'm not right, I can't take care of my family, which are the most important. Then I can't take care of my friends. And then business and money should be the last 2 important things. But when you're right in these 5 equities, business and money flow.
Yep.
The opportunities.
It's a byproduct of being in balance in these top ones, right?
Because I can.
That is a fact.
And I said it in the Windermere thing. It's like, take everything away. As long as I have my family, I'm happy. And I meant it, you know? And so I literally did that. Literally stripped every security and safety net I have.
I love it.
For my family.
I
and I'm
love
just
it.
trusting that the universe will come back and help me.
It will.
And I think it will.
Because you're following your heart.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
When you do live out that truth and you believe in it.
You're completely taken care of.
Free.
It's really, really a fact.
Yeah. And so it's all, my focus is going to be in Tacoma, University Place, outside cities. Like here in the 253, I want to continue really just making a staple and help uplifting people and inspiring people to do more.
I love it, man.
Yeah, I think there's a void here. And that's why I started the mentorship program.
And everything else, right?
It's because there's a need for it. People are showing up because they need something. And it's like, I want to help share that with them. I've experienced a lot. I'm only 33. I turned 34. Actually, what's funny is I turned 34 in a week. You've almost been here year to date.
Yes, exactly.
Literally 2 weeks.
We filmed it on your birthday.
On my birthday, so in 2 weeks I turned 34.
Full circle.
So a lot has changed.
How times have changed so much.
It's wild, man, but it's really about just being really right with yourself, really right with your family, and then start branching out into the communities and the things. But you have to be full in those areas in order to give.
I love that.
And I haven't been filling my own mind, body, soul. I've tried, but it's stealing time away from the things that are important. So it's creating a balance.
And but it had to happen that way for it to happen this way, right?
It has to. And, you know, I wasn't planning on doing this but it's like when it's the right thing at the right time, you will never be prepared, but it is just freeing. And I hope it inspires some people like that.
Yeah, same. I feel very inspired right now because I had no idea why you left and like what you're doing now, and that this is so. And of course, it has to be this way.
Yeah, it's. And I don't think I ever would have if it didn't do this way. I think I would have probably just drove myself into the ground and just done it.
There wasn't enough pain, right? Until the Quincy looked at you and was like, "I need more of your time, Dad."
That moment,
I can't even.
Dude, it's.
Was it sad? What was the emotion during that?
She just loves spending time with me. Like we have daddy-daughter dates. Like everything is a daddy-daughter date, and like she wants to go do this and do that. It's I either. One thing that really like stuck with me is I was complaining too much that I was tired because I was trying to make up for the time
by not sleeping,
or I was saying I can't or I don't. It's like, well, now I say I will. I'm doing. I'm not going to say I can't.
Speak as if it is already.
It's going to happen. Like, why would I wait for anything anymore? And so moving forward, I'm just going to live life on my own terms and make sure that
That's so inspiring, dude.
I do it with them.
I love it.
And it shows like if I can get over the fear of doing this, like anybody can, because it's for the right reasons. You know, it's like if you're just doing it to do it, make sure you like cover your bases. This was a long process of coming to terms with it. It's like I think there's something else for me, but I don't know what it is. But all I know is it's about the people and the community, but I got to make sure that my family's with me while I do it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. I hope your daughter sees this in the future sometime.
It's going to live on the internet forever.
Yeah.
So,
this could be there forever, this conversation.
On her 18th birthday, I'm going to say, like, remember when we couldn't buy anything for a little while?
Yeah.
This is why.
I had this stuff going on.
Yeah, but it's less about the stuff and it's less about the money.
More about the time.
It's more about the time.
The time is the only thing that matters.
I see it around me. I've had friends die from so many things, walk out of my house every day to see someone that was healthy and happy unexpectedly. There's fatality accidents on the freeway all the time. We hear it all the time that people pass. Nipsey Hussle, for example, the guy was giving everything to his community. You know, like time is too short.
Oh God, it's so fragile.
And so if you can sell out the Staples Center because you did all the right things, your legacy will live on forever. And that's what I thought about is, what is my legacy? It's a question I learned literally 5 or 6 years ago from my friend Mike Smith. And he's like, what's your legacy? And I couldn't answer the question. Now it is. I know what it is. And it's like being a man of my family and then the community and then making sure that people are just moving their lives forward.
Perfect.
I have it figured out finally.
That sounds very like deliberate and clear and...
That's the first time I've actually spoke it like
that.
Yeah,
I felt it. It feels very like you say it with conviction, right?
Yeah, it's me finally, you know. And so the departure from the company is going to be, it's good. Like we're on great terms. Like everyone's really excited for me. And they're set up great. They're going to go on and continue to kill it.
Yes, and it's not like getting on bad terms.
No.
You're just doing what's more important to you.
Yeah.
And if no one understands that, then like...
But that was a fear.
Yeah.
How are people going to receive it? And
And that's not up to you to decide, is it?
No.
Yeah, so like don't even take on that burden.
No. And I just couldn't care what anybody was going to think anymore because I needed to care more about the ones that were most important, what they think, and they needed more time with me, and I needed more time with them. And this is going to really allow me to sink my fingers into the community of the things that I want to do. And so it's just the start. I get a fresh start.
Oh, life is just beginning.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
But I think that's where community really starts, is like making sure you're right with yourself before you give, because you can't give without having something to give.
That's the nugget of gold there for you guys. Hope you guys get the download.
That's
so good, man.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all that you do.
Yeah,
this is just like such an inspiring individual.
Well, and this is the first time being so vulnerable. And we talked about this earlier, was like, to have courage, you have to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And if you're not vulnerable, you will never have the courage. Like you just have to, the vulnerability is so true. And I think a lot of us like bury that vulnerability with tough exterior, or
because it's like socially not acceptable.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like, you got to just be real and authentic.
It's
and
the good stuff.
When you bury and suppress things, it will come back and kill you.
It percolates in different places. And
it's the Mentos in a Coke bottle.
Yes.
It will 100% pop. Like you can't hide from that.
There's no way.
And so I think this last 18 months is some, like, full disclosure, I've cried more in the last 18 months than I ever have, and I felt like more manly than I ever have, and I feel like I'm doing the right things for my family.
Yes,
like,
dude, I love crying.
I
feel like all about it, man.
Yeah.
Like feeling your feelings is like so good for you.
It is.
It's so good for you.
And people try to like flex on Instagram or like whatever. It's like those aren't real feelings.
No.
Like be real with yourself.
Yeah, and then when you can be vulnerable, it like shows other people that it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yes.
So like it allows everyone to like open up and not let the things be so suppressed, you know?
Right.
And that stuff does come back.
And also too is over the years I've gotten like my life looks easy and perfect and all that stuff, but it's like even people that are very positive and optimistic, it just proves that everybody's going through something.
Yep.
Don't assume that their life is perfect.
Yes.
Don't assume that their life is terrible.
Yep.
The grass is always greener, whatever. We're all battling something, and that's why we all have to be kind to each other, and we have to take care of each other. Answer the phone when someone needs an ear to bend, like do it, because it matters. It matters because we all are doing our best with what we have and what we've learned.
Oh, Ejay, that's so powerful, man.
Thank you.
That hits my heart. I hope people can receive that. That's like that's some real stuff right there.
You're welcome. It's not about the work that you're doing, it's about how you treat people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I'm actually going to be okay, is because I've treated people good and worked hard at the same time. But it really comes down to just being kind and being there
You're
for people.
so taken care of, man.
I hope so.
Yeah. Don't even hope so. You should know so.
Yeah.
It's fact. Look at this like beautiful family that you have. You're totally good.
Well, it starts with my wife. She's been the sounding block for all this and just giving me the confidence to do it. And
thanks, Lindsay.
look how happy she looks too. Like she just looks so like good.
Yeah, I'll link you guys to the Meet the Neighbors episode so you can see how cute EJ's family is. The episode turned out so great.
Oh, it was super fun.
We're touring around Tacoma doing graffiti stuff and him sharing his story, and yeah, it's really great. And you can see his daughter Quincy.
Yeah. Oh, Quincy, superstar.
Yeah. So good. So I think maybe we can end with like, say someone out there is kind of like struggling on figuring out what is most important in their life, or is like in the crossroad of like a really big decision. Like what would you tell younger EJ?
Write down your feelings. Write it down. Like, so in your head, a lot of times, like your feelings are a lot more bloated than they really are.
Yeah, when it's floating in your mind, it's so hard to like pinpoint.
You can't.
Yeah.
And you get distracted, or you're, well, first off, put your cell phones away. Like, don't look.
Step one.
Put the cell phones down. Like, if you want to create the life that you always wanted, consume less.
Yes.
And so put your phones down.
And give more.
And give more.
Yep.
And so get a piece of paper, write down how you're feeling. What I really, and I need to do better about this, is journaling, because I think it's really good to get those things out.
Yeah.
And like, be real.
Yeah. I always do it in front of a camera. Just like get that download, right?
Yeah. You got to get it out of your head.
Mind dump.
And so really look at it and see what's most important for you. Or do the 7 equities. Mind, body, soul, family, friends, business, money, in that order. Calibrate it 0 to 10. 10 meaning you don't have to make a single change, and 0 meaning you're not investing enough into that area, and see how you're balanced. And see, but really figure out what it is that you want to do in life and what you want your legacy to be. But you have to really put a pen to paper to like really spell it out. So I wish I would have done this a while ago and just like wrote down my feelings and how I was feeling and talked about them more. Don't get stuck in your own head.
Yeah, I feel like that's 90% of the whole world, right? They're stuck in their mind and they can't share. And
reach out to somebody that's going to listen.
Yep.
And because when you talk about it, you get good perspective from people, and maybe what you think is a big deal, maybe not be.
Yes,
or,
we make it so big in our mind, right?
Or maybe you don't think it's a big deal, but maybe it really is a big deal, that you're like, yo, you're going down a wrong path. Like, so my advice for anybody that's like trying to make a big decision is just take your time and be real with yourself. Have a real honest conversation with yourself on like what it is. If you were to die tomorrow, would you have done everything that you think you should have up until that point? And if the answer is no, make your change. You will never be ready for it. I'm not ready for this, but I have to be ready for this.
That's such a serious question to ask yourself.
It is.
Like so serious.
And I got I got this question asked to me, and this was like really subconscious. Like I kind of pushed it down. Probably about 6 months ago. It was a very simple question: what do you want? And I couldn't answer it.
I think a lot of people can't, or they don't know.
And I'm going to ask everyone, like your entire audience, what do you want? And write it down. Be very clear. I guarantee you 99% of the people will not be able to clearly write out what they want. And be honest about it without having some guilt because they want a Maserati.
Yeah, something material.
Yeah, it's like, no, be very specific. What do you want that will make you happy, make you fulfilled, that you can also contribute to the society of community that you're around? And if you can figure that out, you're winning. It doesn't matter about the stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, why do you want the stuff? If it's stuff, then what's the reason for wanting the stuff, right?
Yep. If it's going to be used as a vessel to move the community forward or giving back better, sure. But if you're just doing it to get the stuff, it's
Bottomless pit.
stories. You got to
Yes.
get the stories. The stuff is not going to go with you to the grave. And, you know, we all want nice things. We all want to have a bank account. We all want to be able to provide for our families. That is a given. That's okay. But it's like when you're chasing the money, and that's why money is the bottom of the 7 equities. It's not at the top. It's at the bottom. You know, get real with yourself first. And if that means exercising daily, like pay attention to what you're putting in your body. What are you doing for your soul? Are you reading, meditating? Are you praying? Are you going on hikes? Whatever brings your soul to fulfillment, like figure that out first, and then everything else follows.
Dude, dope, man. This is so much like dank nuggets for people right now. I can already see, oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love how clear you are about what it really,
It took going through the struggle
for you to be here, right?
Yeah,
To
contrast
understand.
creates clarity.
Yep.
And if you don't have that contrast, or you can't get through those things, then you know it's perspective. And I finally had enough perspective that I know what I want finally in life, and I'm gonna go get it.
So excited for your journey, man.
Thank you.
I'm excited that it's just like this is the next chapter, right?
Yeah, closing one and open another, and it's okay. And I've been okay with like it's okay to close a chapter because you get to go back and reread it and be proud of it.
Yes, and enjoy it again.
Yeah, it's like this is something I'll remember forever, and I've had the greatest stories and the greatest memories, and my life up until that point is incredible. It's like, okay, well now I get to open a new one
And grow.
and I love growth, and I love evolving, and I love experiencing things, and this is the next chapter.
So dope. Man, thank you so much. Dropping so much wisdom. I really hope the viewers out there and listeners can really take away and, you know, we're meant to live our best lives.
100%.
We're supposed to be like, do what we love every day and like enjoy it with the people that we love every single day and impact the world doing what we love every single day, right? It's
Every
like
day.
our gift to share. So I hope you guys can leave this podcast with something.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
This
Ejay.
has been awesome. I actually feel really good
Me
about
too.
like getting it out because I've had
too.
a lot of questions about it, and it's like I hope people watch this and actually kind of get my understand why I did it now, like the moments that I went through in order to be able to get there. Hopefully that's not showing. I'm gonna hold on. It's the monitor.
Oh, we got babies crying.
Here we go. It's off.
We got Lindsay managing all the children.
Oh my
We're
gosh,
filming podcasts. We got lots of
it's
things
just
going
chaos.
on today. We'll call this podcast a wrap today. I'll put Ejay's all this information in the description, and hopefully you guys can continue to be inspired in how important it is, and how important it is to take care of yourself first before you take care of everyone else.
100%. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for having me. This
Thank
has been
you,
amazing.
Ejay. Yeah, dude, this is so fun. Give me a hug. Give me a hug.
Oh, I love it.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.